Well, when I was first a nurse, though, I didn't live here. I was married to a man in the military, so we were stationed in Virginia, and I went to work at Mary Immaculate there, and I was on a med-surg floor. And very much, it was a unique unit. It was called a hodgepodge. They like to call it med-surg, but I'd call it a hodgepodge. But anyhow, when I was there, I took care of a 17-year-old who was post-op appendectomy. His blood pressure was really, really high. I was a very persistent nurse. I kept calling his surgeon. Eventually, they shipped this young man to find out that he was born with only one kidney. So that was the reason for his blood pressures being so elevated. Well, when that was all said and done, his mother, who wanted to meet the persistent nurse, ended up being the head nurse of maternity. She asked me to come work for her, and I have been there ever since. So that's that. Anyhow, that has led me to the job in OB. It's a job I love. It's a job I'm devoted to, and it's something that I wanted to do. The one thing I will tell you about OB is well, let's just say we are either extremely busy or we're very slow. OB does not know a happy medium. The people that are in charge are usually the little people that are inside. They basically decide what's going to be going on and what's not. Our department is to be prepared for anything, whether or not we're busy. A lot of things that you'll see is we have what's called a non-stress test when a patient's just placed on a monitor. And later on, I'll give you a tour of the department. I'll show you what the monitor pieces look like. And another thing that we might see is a scheduled induction, which is a medication either we give in an IV or vaginally to get your body to think about it's time to have your baby. Some people make really nice houses and they don't give what's called eviction notices. So those babies like to stay in utero and just don't want to come out just yet. Sometimes we might have to have what's called cesarean sections. Not all babies are born vaginally. So we have an operating room that's up here. Actually, we have two. And another thing that you might see is a D&C. Unfortunately, some people do lose their babies and they might have some leftover products of conception or membranes, and that requires a little bit of a case. And then the other thing that we do have up here is called code pinks, which is like you're going to see a code blue on an adult. I'm sure you guys have all seen medical shows. Well, we have what's called a code pink cart that's strictly for babies. And what we try to do is anticipate that there's going to be a need right after delivery. So we kind of do things ahead of time instead of waiting for them to respond so that we can avoid having to do any of those long-term, intense type of effects that we have to do that you have to see that you see in adults that are done. But that's us. That's us getting acquainted with OB. The next thing that you guys are going to see here is we rely on a lot of different departments. Our day starts off with everybody getting into scrubs. Now today you see me in street clothes, but we normally get into a set of scrubs. We all go into our conference room, which is where we have a morning huddle. In that huddle, our directors discuss whatever is intense or something important that's going on hospital-wide that we all need to be aware of. And our night shift reports off to our day shift so that we can continue that 24-hour care that we are supposed to do. So when you see somebody come in, they may be discussing something very, very sensitive. They may be discussing what's going on. Then, of course, each nurse will go with the other nurse that's actually taking care of the patient one-on-one. They go to the bedside, and patients are very much involved in their care. We have to look over, you're going to see in labor and delivery that we're very focused on, we do a head-to-toe assessment, but we're very, very focused on the uterus and on the cervix. Those are the two things that let us know what's going on. A uterus and they show the contractions. They tell us how far apart they are. They let us know what's going on. They let us know what's going on with that person's body. And then, of course, we also have our cervical dilatation, which I forgot to show the other group, but I will show it to you guys later on to show you exactly how we're trained here to determine whether or not you're in labor. And a lot of it goes by that. Now, with social media, which I told a previous group, is you may perceive that it gets in the way. And yes, it does, but no, it doesn't. For the most part, in our department, we have very young, healthy people. And if that's their way of feeling secure by talking to their mother or talking to their loved one and sharing whatever's going on with them, then by all means, we enjoy it, and we enhance it, and we get our pictures taken a lot. Unfortunately, with COVID, it has restricted us where we only allow one person in the delivery room. Usually it's the father of the baby, but sometimes the young lady may pick her mother, or she may pick her sister or someone close to her. And the saddest part of that for us is not letting anybody come in the room, because the most exciting thing to see is when a sibling comes in and sees their new babies, because, you know, they're cute and they're all bundled up. They love them then until they start playing with their toys when they're later on, but that happens when they're at home. But that's pretty much us for here. The other thing that we have to be concerned about is sometimes we have to look over a patient's history. Unfortunately, people may indulge in non-prescriptive medications as far as drugs go, alcohol, different things. They may have social issues where they don't have custody of their children, and it could be for a variety of reasons. So those are a lot of personal issues that not everybody thinks that happens in OB, but it does. And so we're very blessed. We have pastoral care that comes around, and they do a blessing on every one of our babies. They give every baby a cross. A little girl on one or a little boy on the other. We also have occupational therapy comes in here, and they work with the baby's mouths if there's difficulty with feedings or breastfeeding. We have lactation consultants that are here every single day of the week. We are very blessed with those. We work very hard with our OB doctors. We have an in-house physician at all times. We work very hard with our pediatricians who are here that make daily rounds on their newborn babies. For some of our babies that are in special care, we also have neonatologists. And those are doctors that just have a little bit of an extra skill when it comes to our sick little babies. And I will take you through the nursery there. We do have one little friend, and another little friend's going to be joining us in there. I can't show you a picture of a baby for HIPAA reasons, but I can at least let you see what it looks like in that department. We have code pink carts that are located all over the hospital, or I should say our department. It seems like we're the only part of the hospital that sometimes what OB nurses like to think that we're the top banana. Sometimes you'll see that we'll have to look over ultrasounds. Ultrasounds can show us different things very early on, which is an amazing thing that they did. Back when I was born, they didn't even have a monitor. They had a doctor wear this type of stethoscope that went on top of their head. It was called a fetoscope. And he'd have his head up against the mother's belly, and he could listen to the heartbeat through that. Now, let's not guess my age. We can go on for something else. But sometimes ultrasounds will even surprise you. If a person's never had an ultrasound, they go downstairs. Sometimes you might find out that there's 2 in there as opposed to 1. And one of the things that Dr. Morrison taught me when I was a brand new nurse back in the day, he said, if you have a set of twins and they're a boy and a girl, they're always known as scrambled eggs. So that's one of my favorite things to never forget, scrambled eggs. One of the things you're also going to find out is we deal with people that are preterm. One of the case studies that we have here in our department, and one of our babies that's in nursery, this patient was seen very early on in her pregnancy and was dilated, was contracting, and they had to give her magnesium sulfate, which is a special medication. So that's a rough med, but it's a med that we give you safely to take you to kind of relax that uterine muscle, make everything calm down so that we in turn can keep that baby in for as long as we can so it safely can be born as close to term. So anyhow, this young lady presents herself now to me at 34 weeks. She's in triage. I put her on the monitor. I gave her this medication 3 times. It did not affect her. This was terbutaline. This is a shot you get. This is a different med. And that little baby said, nope. Sorry, Chris, but I'm coming out today. And that little friend is still with us in the nursery, and he is growing and becoming strong and doing all the wonderful things that we can do. But babies basically rule the world. So the key thing to be an OB nurse is you better be flexible. And I'm not talking physically, I'm talking emotionally. Because one minute you're thinking everything's smooth, and the next minute you're like, what? But it's a wonderful job, and I'm very blessed to get to do it. And one of the greatest doctors that I ever got to work with in my entire life, Catherine, you all know, Catherine Waskopnik's father was Dr. Bartek, Dr. Francis Bartek, the bomb diggity. He took care of nurses. He delivered most of the members of my family. And trust me, he has met every one of us up here, and he is sorely missed. But he is one of the greatest doctors that I have ever had the opportunity of working with. So on that particular note, since I'm talking even faster than I did the last time, there is one thing I do want to take you guys on as a tour of my department. So I have to put my mask back on for the safety of my patients and you guys and everybody else around here. But this is the one thing I've got to remember to do is turn my camera around. So let's do this. So this is the one thing I didn't show the other group that I want to show you guys. This is called a dilatation chart. And if I put up close, you'll see where it says this is 1 centimeter. And down here, it's going to show you how wide that circle gets. Well, this is what us being trained. The nurses here in OB are trained. And you put on a sterile glove, and you put on some goop, and you do what's called a pelvic exam. Yes, it does go inside the vagina, up to the cervix, and you basically see how far dilated that cervix is. Now, the key thing is about 10 centimeters, there's no cervix. All you feel is a baby's head. So, but that's the chart that we go by, and that's what all nurses are taught. This over here is the warmer. And this is where our little friends go after delivery. Normally the light's on, which I'll turn it on for you. The light is on, and we have the heater going, so this is nice and warm. It's like laying out on the beach. And you'll laugh because the cutest little thing the babies do is they spread their arms out, their legs out, and they literally look like they're laying on the beach. Over here is our monitor. There we go. This is a monitor strip. The top line that you see in blue is the fetal heart rate. This is the fetal heart rate. These are what's called accelerations. It's exactly what we want to see in a baby. We want those to happen. We don't want a steady heartbeat like the nurses do in critical care and such like that. We want this. This lets us know that I'm okay. This is the most important part of it. It's called variability. That's the one thing we look at when we look at a strip for a mom or for a baby. And when we get a variability, the key thing is, is you never, Dr. Morrison again, tell me, you never want a fresh mowed lawn. You always want weeds in the grass or flowers in the garden. And these are the accelerations that you get. So these are all reassuring. This is technically a contraction. This right here is fetal movement. And this is exactly what we look for. This is the key thing of my department. This is the most important thing you can look at on the baby, because we always get two patients, one you can see and one you can't. And the one you can't see relies on me just as much as the one who can see me. Now these are monitor pieces. So I'm going to show you right here. There's first one, it's called an ultrasound. You see how it's just a nice little circle? Well, this is our gel, ultrasonic gel that we put in the circle, and we place it right over where we feel the baby's heart rate is. And usually you can tell by putting your hand on the mom's belly. It's a firm side. That's usually where the baby's back is. And that's exactly what you trace. That, of course, is the blue line. This little remarkable magic thing here is called a toco. The center part where that circle is in the middle is so sensitive that anytime there's a fetal movement, anytime that there is a contraction, it will pick up, see where it starts to begin? It will pick up and show us exactly what's happening to that person. Now, these are external monitors. With an external monitor, all it can do is tell me how far apart they are and how long they're lasting. We do have monitors that are internal, which requires a doctor to place them as far as the IUPC goes, which is an uterine pressure catheter. Those are ones that will tell us exactly how intense those contractions are. And people that have had C-sections before who want to have a vaginal delivery are very much encouraged to have those kind of monitors in there so we can make sure that we don't put too much pressure on that uterus. Over here is the epidural pump that you see right up there against the wall. That is probably a godsend to women in the world. Thank God they made those, because I think it's wonderful that a woman can actually enjoy her birth. Yes, it's painful, but she still should be allowed to have as much of a good time having her baby as everybody else is who's cheering her on. And this is our bed. As you can see, my bed breaks off in half. This bed is raised up. As we like to call this, the nurse's pay raise. There's a light that drops down so the doctor can actually shine it on the perineum itself and be able to do the delivery of the baby, and we can put the bed back together. And nobody had any idea anything happened in here other than hearing somebody cry. Okay, so let's go out there and see what we've got going on. Okay. The first thing you're going to see when I come out the door is our ultrasound machine. It used to be a big, huge machine that you had to lug around. Now it's like a laptop sitting on a little stand. Okay. And so that's amazing. That is like a godsend. Over here's our new way of doing medications. Everything is locked inside of here. This is an Omnicell, and of course it requires a code and our fingerprint to be able to get anything out. This is the nursing staff. Wave hi, everybody. Well, Dr. Harrop will wave, maybe. He's the one in white. The rest of them are the nurses that are working today. Over here is, we're going into triage. Well, you need a wheelchair, we got plenty. But over here is triage. Most people that are not scheduled for an induction or a C-section, or they're going to have a non-stress test. Non-stress tests do come in here, but this is triage. This is the room that to and initially be evaluated to see if they're in labor. And you can tell they've had a busy night because the lights are all on and the beds are not all put together just yet. And they just have a patient in here, so we won't spend that much time in here. See, and this is how we have a special, we were lucky this time, we have more than one person on the monitor, and see how we can see all of them. And if you have 6 patients on a monitor, you can see 6 patients. We're able to watch them anywhere we go, and that's the greatest thing. Everything we do here is in computer these days. Nothing's on paper, so that's a pretty good thing. All right. This is our nursery, known as our special care nursery. This over here has everybody in here. These are where our little friends come. Sometimes they need a little extra help. So if they need a little extra help, they come in here with a specially trained nurse and doctor, a neonatologist. There's one of our nurses. Wave hi, Brittany. Hi. And over there's one of our physicians. He's waving to you. And I can't show you babies. They're over there in their private little area. This is our code pink card. Remember I told you guys we do like codes? Well, isn't it perfect? We have it colored in the color pink. So that has all our little supplies in there. and everything that we need. This is the supply room just for the nursery. Yes, they require all that stuff. And over here is our OR. Now, I'm not dressed in scrubs, so I can only take you so far, but this is our operating room. This is the big one. It's like a room in its own. We call it like our own little city. We have everything that we could possibly need to do a delivery in here, be it vaginal or C-section. 99.9% of the patients in here deliver by a section, and this is all set up in here for that. And of course, over there is our warmer with our baby supplies, way over to the side, if you guys can see that. I'll take you into one that I can use because there's not a patient going in there right now. And this is our back OR. This right over here is the backup OR that we have that we can use and in case of an emergency. That is a portable Doppler system, which is wonderful because unfortunately sometimes the med-surg nurses might get a patient who's pregnant with not an OB problem. So if they don't have an OB problem, but they have to be on a med-surg unit and they need us to go over, listen to the fetal heart rate and run a strip, we have that little portable monitor that can go with us anywhere we need to go. But this is our big OR. This is the second one. This is a smaller one, so as you can see, nurses like a lot of room. So we try to use the big one any chance we can get. And there's a light actually down from the ceiling. Okay, so that pretty much is my department. We're like a big long hallway. You can see little babies over there. And I will discuss this part with you in a minute. And these are our little wows. These are our Epic monitors that go everywhere we go. Plus we have one in every room. So when we're admitting a baby, it's very nice because the nurse is with the baby and the other nurse is with mom. We can each have computers because we're not known for liking to share. The yellow cart that you guys saw in the hallway, unfortunately, is used for isolation. It's used more and more than it ever was. That doesn't mean that mom has COVID, but of course with the COVID situation going on right now, we try to make sure that we have those supplies available for any patient who may need it. We do have a room, there's a patient next door, so I didn't take you into our COVID room, but anyhow, we do have a special room that has the negative airflow. So I'm sure you've seen the windows open at the hospitals if you've driven by or had to be here for any reason. If you see those, they have a special hookup. So that allows the air to circulate the proper way so that you can maintain those kind of patients. So one other thing I want you guys to know, two things. You have to be flexible to be an OB nurse. Whatever career choice you choose, it's the right choice for you. If your first choice is, I'm not sure I want to be a doctor, I'm not sure I want to be a nurse, I'm not sure I want to do this, it doesn't matter. Whatever you decide to do is the right path you take. Every little step you take to get to the position that you're in is the right step for you. It just makes you a better person. And never be afraid to ask a question, because that is one thing that I have learned in 35 years of nursing. Never be afraid. The one thing that I can make you guys laugh about is how small this world really is. I was volunteering at Comet Corner. My daughter, who is now a teacher, who was a 27-week preemie, who said she was coming into this world a lot earlier. Anyhow, I worked at Comet Corner. This young man came up, kept saying, he looked at me, kept saying, I know you look familiar. I know you. Well, he wasn't in band with my daughter. He wasn't, associated with her in her class. He was a year older than her. I could not figure out who he was. He didn't know who I was. Sure enough, one Friday he comes in after he celebrated his 18th birthday, and I'm sure you know where I'm going with this. He brings a picture, and there is me holding him when he was newly born. His mom told him how exciting the delivery was, how wonderful the place was, and that's the most exciting thing that could ever happen is if a patient loves you, and you're in scrubs. So when they see you outside there in street clothes, you never acknowledge a patient for their privacy, but if they acknowledge you and they remember you in any way humanly possible, in a positive way, that is the most exciting, most rewarding gift you can ever give a nurse. You will find that out in your career wherever you choose to go. And as my daughter says, a teacher is the reason why a nurse knows how to do the things. But I like to say to her, it's the reason that the teacher is born is because of the labor and delivery nurse. So there you go. Anyhow, it's been my pleasure. If you guys have any questions for me, I'll be more than happy to answer anything you have.
Go ahead. If anybody has a question, go ahead and ask. I've got 2 or 3 waiting that I will ask, but I'll let students First dibs. Anybody have anything? Okay, I'm up. 35 years. It's a long time. It's a lifetime.
Only 29. Isn't that amazing how that worked out?
What biggest change you've seen in 35 years of nursing?
Um, I have to say the modernization of medicine is actually the greatest gift that you could have ever given an OB department. Many women who were not able to carry babies, get pregnant, have babies, get as far as they can to get to term. That is the greatest thing that's happened. So although it's becoming a little bit more clinical as far as, computers this, computers that, computers that, if it wasn't for it, we wouldn't be where we are today to be able to have all these little babies that wouldn't have made it before.
Awesome. Okay, so the students may have never heard of this, but we have the full moon theory. Is it true or
Oh,
false? And explain what it is. So they go, "What's full moon?" Go ahead.
oh my God, oh my God. An OB nurse will always tell you it's true. Others will tell you it's a myth, but no, we're telling you the truth. What'll happen is 3 days before or the day of the full moon, maternity becomes extremely busy. It could be a variety of things. It could be preterm labor, it could be actual labor, it could be all kinds of different things. But what happens is 3 days before, the barometric pressures change with the full moon coming. And what happens is OB just makes a sign of the cross, and we're in a Catholic institution, so we know exactly how to do it. And it becomes a wild, wild night at the end. And the next busiest time of the year will always be that we call it the tax break. And that's from Christmas, the day after Christmas, through New Year's Day. And of course, the hospitals like to compete on New Year's Eve. We all like to have a good time to see who's going to win the New Year's baby. And of course, now that Illyria doesn't deliver his babies anymore, we're hoping to take it.
Oh
So
my God. Good luck. Well, good luck.
yeah, that's a fun time. That's a fun time for us.
Last question, more career oriented. So, I've had students, interested in women's health and OBGYN, but there's more to the game. A phrase called a person called a doula and a
Mhm.
midwife. So if you can explain those two careers as options.
Well, a doula is not a nurse. Doesn't have to be a nurse. It can be a nurse, but usually it's not a nurse. It's usually a support person that the family has hired that works alongside that mother that does whatever she wants. In other words, if this mother says, I have a plan of care, this is what I anticipate. And people do come in with birth plans. But anyhow, they do come in with birth plans, and it's not the Gerber baby TV show like you see. But anyhow, are you still there?
Yep.
Oh, there you are. But anyhow, it's that mechanism where they turn around and they're like, well, this is how I want it. I don't want pain medication. I don't want an epidural. So if I walk into the room and offer this patient something for pain or that, the doula may speak in place of that mother and say, we've worked through this. This is what she wants. She wants to try this natural. She doesn't want that pain medication, whatever. A midwife is actually a nurse who has gone through extensive training to actually be able to do a delivery. I mean, she's never alone. There's always an in-house MD. There's always an MD available to her. But to be perfectly honest with you, they give us orders. We follow them. They are trained specifically to do deliveries. I mean, they are limited as to what they can do. They don't do C-sections. They don't do D&Cs, but they do deliveries, and they are very, very good at what they do. I've had the pleasure of working with several midwives. We do have one here on staff right now. Hopefully more will come, but they do a beautiful delivery, and they are very, very attentive to their patients also.
I didn't ask this question before, but I'm full of questions because I'm always fascinated with different careers in healthcare. But what is your thoughts on the father during the delivery process? I mean, when I was born, I mean, my dad was dad wasn't around, and all of a sudden there was a baby. Now, I mean, my husband was like holding my leg up, and I'm screaming at him, and it's drama. And so, what are your thoughts, being in this business for 35 years? Do dads belong in the birthing room, or get them the hell
Absolutely.
out?
Absolutely. They belong in the delivery room. They belong in the C-section room. They belong here while she's learning how to breastfeed. They belong. It is them as a family. I mean, when we see a mom and a dad come into the desk and they're like, we're here to have a baby. And I always address them as we, as a group, we together are going to do this. I mean, they need to be made felt a part of. Now, there are some dads who don't want to be a part of it, and they're over there, doing their thing. And that's okay, but not my dads, because I'll sit there and say, well, you know what? I need your help. Could you please help me? You know what? If you say something about the baby, usually they'll come towards you if it has to do with the baby. Like, the baby doesn't really like mom's side. We need to change positions. Would you help me? They get more and more involved as long as you make them feel a part of it. And believe you me, like you said, there is drama. I mean, that one lady threatened to, we had one patient who actually threatened her husband to never, ever, 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 ever have a romantic night with him again. And so what? They have 7 children now. She just had another baby last month. And so I said, you forgot about the first one. She goes, I apologized to him, and that's my way of keep apologizing to him. So yeah, I think they need to be very much a part of it, whatever part they want. If they're frightened, the whole idea is that mom is frightened too to have her baby, whether it's her first or her 7th. So the goal is for me to make them feel like this is their moment, and I'm just here to help.
Right.
And the whole idea is to make him feel just as important as she is.
So what's the percentage of dads that pass out next to the mom? I know it happens.
Yeah, probably about a good 25%. Lately, we've been having dads that go into the section room that don't eat. So that's the first question out of my mouth. Well, she couldn't have anything for breakfast, so I didn't. So the first thing I do is, well, come with me. And then it's like, let's get you some orange juice, some peanut butter, graham crackers, whatever I have in our refrigerator up here, on board, because the last thing I want to do, because we will step over them.
Yeah.
My own brother.
Is the dad down? Where do you guys yell when someone goes down?
We just go dad down, and somebody goes, we need it. We need the ammonia salts. So we go and get those. And then, he's usually either throwing up in a chair or something like that, but and then they get embarrassed. So the whole idea is let's do what we can do to prevent it. But my own brother, my oldest brother, he was out cold. He was laying on the stretcher because he hit his head and had to go to the ER. So after my sister-in-law had the first baby, he's laying next to her with stitches in his head on the cart, telling everybody he needed an ice pack. I'm thinking, this woman just gave birth to an 8-pound, 12-ounce baby, and you're worried about your stitches. But my mom set him straight, so that wasn't a problem. And she used to be the head nurse and maternity way back then, so that tells you how much she put into it.
Okay, great. Well, thank you. Like I said, it's always been a question I've asked, as the nurses and the dad walks in, they drop. Not all of them, but they drop.
On the ground faster than you can, and it's like all of a sudden you look at them, where'd they go? They're down on the ground. And then I'm amazed at when they do, the babies are born, of course, you can see the head coming out. And when they get fixated, their heads start to go like this. Here's me. We're either going to lose him or he's going to, they're like, oh my God. Okay, well, it went in microscopic, but, unfortunately, things grow. So
They do.
And the lady's like, don't look down there. Don't look like that. Most of the wives don't want them to look directly down there. So I don't know why, but they don't. It's like once the baby's born, they're okay. But.
Yeah, exactly. I don't blame them. So, all right. Well, thank you very much for your time.
It's been my pleasure.
I can't say enough things about the OB floor. Guys, we've been going there for 22 years, and it's a fantastic experience, and fingers crossed that we'll be able to have that experience for the juniors in the spring. If not in the spring, we might have to reload and try for fall 21. But it's the ladies there, the staff at the OB floor, I can't say enough nice things about them. Just really, they get you involved.
Thank you so very much. We look forward to having any of you guys whenever you're allowed. So let's just wear your mask, wash your hands, tell your friends, wear their masks, wash your hands. It is a real thing. So please tell them to do that. So what we can ever do to get us out of this purple, to get us back to a normal life.
All right. Well,
we would love to have you guys back. Thank you so much. It's been my pleasure.
All right.
I want to add, Miss Haney, I want to just add that you all think of Chris and the labor and delivery unit, because on 12/14 there's a full moon and there's a full solar eclipse that day. So that means there's nothing but fun going on in there. So think about it.
Anyway, any of them could pass their boards before then, because we could use the help. It's going to be a wild ride. And I work all 3 days. So, Catherine, if you start to see that none of us show up in the cafeteria for lunch, you'll know why. Hey, Sharon.
Send food. Send pizza and pop, right? There you go.
Hey, Dr. Bartek, her dad used to cook for us when we weren't able to get dinner. He'd go home, make spaghetti meatballs, and bring it all to us.
Oh, that's
awesome. He'd watch the strips and everything so we could go eat.
That's awesome. All right. Well, have a great holiday. Well,
you too. Thank you so much.